Hello, you've got a lovely exhibition here.
Thank you.
Do you want to tell me something about it?
Okay, well we'll start here
Yeah.
because that's where it all started for these digital pieces. These were done for an exhibition that was called Women and Flowers, and I wanted to really integrate the flowers into the women and found that this was about the best way of doing it. So rather than just using my usual dyeing techniques, I actually started getting involved in digital printing at that particular point in time. Some of the women were also involved in lace. They had lace put onto them and into them. So I got invited to do an exhibition with lace. So using the same techniques that I've been using for this, I started looking at lace and making it very abstract. So we've got some of those as well. Then from that I got asked to do an exhibition that was involved with thread, and I just decided to make all the work about thread. So I looked at weaving, continued to look at lace, knit and embroidery. So those are the pieces that that really look at our heritage, our textile heritage. Now we start getting to the name of this exhibition, which is Legacy Impressions. So it's our female legacy in terms of us, women, Eve's heritage, and our femininity, fecundity with flowers. We have our textile heritage with all of the weave, the embroidery, the lace references that I've used. And just because flowers are so much part of our heritage in terms of the lace making, the embroidery, flowers turn up everywhere. I've just done some work about flowers as well.
When did you get into digital printing as part of your work?
Well, I've been using Photoshop for a very long time. I mean, not quite as long as Photoshop, but I've been using it for a long time to play about with photographs and to influence me. And I use it to influence students as well. I help them to use that as a kickstart if they haven't got a drawing kickstart. And when I was doing the Women and Flowers show, I started off with a lithograph print that I did, which was about where the influence came from for doing that. But I found it was very staid. As I was moving into it, the women and the flowers were not getting as mixed up as I wanted them to be. So I went into Photoshop and started playing with that to see what I could do better. And came out with these stunning things that I just thought, I'm going to print these. You know, I'm not going to copy them, I'm going to print them. Yeah. So that's where it started, on a serious scale. And then moved into the other places. Because what I do like, although a lot of it does include my drawings, my embroidery, my prints, my stuff to start off with, I do like that there's this kind of realism almost to some of the things that are going on. People can't really recognise what it is, aren't sure what it is, but it puts into a sort of comfort zone that makes it very live for people. Yeah.
So what sort of materials do you use in your work as a general rule?
Oh, there isn't a general rule. There really isn't. I mean, I use this particular exhibition has been using cottons as a surface for printing on because that's my preferred surface. Usually I work with cotton, linen, any kind of natural fibre. I work with paper, I mix them up. I work with all sorts of print techniques. So although this is all about digital, there is a little bit of lithography, there is a little bit of colorography, and I work with monoprinting, absolutely any way of getting colour onto my surfaces, which could be any kind of surface to start off with. Yeah.
So where do your designs come from?
Well, they start off with drawings, my own photographs, my own research, and then they just get layered and layered. Because it's digital, it's working in Photoshop, it's working with the layers in Photoshop. Some of the pieces, like this one over here, is actually, there's about 30 layers in there in Photoshop before it actually got flattened to be printed. And there are other pieces that might only have 2 or 3 layers. Some of the starting points for them are prints or drawings that I've already done. Some of the finishing points are drawings that I've already done, and some of it's just photos.
So you're layering up with embroidery as well?
Yeah, that's right. Embroidery, a little bit of applique sometimes, hand embroidery, machine embroidery. I love using all the tension techniques on the machine to really get texture happening. Very often 2 or 3 threads in the needle at once, so that the colours and the volume is even greater. Really putting texture back into the pieces.
Do you tend to work within a very similar colour palette with your work?
Well, that could be argued, because there's a lot of bright colours going on, but there is some more subtle, stronger colour. The stuff that I've done about Eve, which is really about how other people have perceived Eve. Rather than doing an Eve myself and saying this is Eve, I actually looked at other people's rendition of Eve, notably Rubens and de la Planche, and set them within Rubens' garden, so which has a gate. So it's, that's where they're going to get kicked out any minute. So these are much more sombre pieces, perhaps because of what is actually going to happen. But even so, my colours are coming back in. So this is called Paradise Lost, because that's what's going to happen. We've got de la Planche's Eve once more, and this time I've made it very clear that we've got the apple there by really stitching it. We've got apple blossom here and here. We've got the same garden. It's a little bit more cheerful because we're not quite sure. Eve hasn't necessarily eaten the apple yet, but just in case we were a bit doubtful about that, here is Rubens' Eve that's here, and she is actually biting into it as we speak, because that's Rubens. Yeah, so very heavily embroidered, particularly the backgrounds. All these layers, very layered together. There's a lot of things that I've layered into this piece, and particularly about what is actually going to happen. So this piece is called Embroidery. This is part of the series on thread. Okay, so lace, embroidery, weave, and so on. This one's about embroidery, and because it's about embroidery, there's layers and layers, just in the original digital print, of embroidery going on. So we've got a piece of shisha, but behind the shisha there's other embroidery. We've got other pieces of embroidery where the stitches, I've just taken them off the surface and put them back into another surface. So all that has been done on the digital. And then I've come back into this and done quite a lot of machine embroidery, mostly quite ordinary, but some of it with tension techniques, and also a lot of hand embroidery, because it's about embroidery. Its subject is embroidery.
So where did the design concept behind that piece come from?
Just setting out with I better do one on embroidery, because I've been doing them on lace, I've been doing them on weave. I did a huge collagraph print of knit, and then I realised as I got towards the exhibition that this was meant for, that me, an embroiderer, had not done something with embroidery as a subject. So that was so shame-making that I decided that I better do one on embroidery, which is what this one was. So the subject matter is embroidery. It's called Embroidery. There's nothing other than that. It's just a celebration of embroidery.
Good.
I do courses in southwest France. So there is a course on Photoshop, but there's also courses on all my dyeing techniques, machine embroidery, all those kind of things. So I do that in southwest France, where I live. And this exhibition will also be going to Dublin and Harrogate if you want to see me in those places before the end of the year. Probably opening a gallery next year, but that's, keep your eyes on my website.
Thank you very much for your time today.
It's been an absolute pleasure.